Hey, welcome back to part 2 of the surveys. The big ideas are going to concentrate on those 3 different areas we talked about in the previous video when we went through and looked at 3 different surveys and what was wrong with them. So we'll do one for each. So the first one we talked about is undercoverage. And it's exactly how it sounds, okay? You're not covering the right, or you're not counting enough people, basically. And so in this case here, this is defined to be when some members of the population cannot or are less likely to or are, slow down a little bit and it's going to look a lot nicer and go a lot smoother, Mr. Hayes, or less likely to be chosen. Okay, so example, landlines exclude cell phones. Okay, that would be an example. If you're calling people during the day, that could be a problem because obviously majority of the people work during the morning and afternoon hours. That type of thing. That would be examples of undercoverage. Non-response. Then for non-response, what we're going to have is when an individual is selected for the response, but then they don't answer. Is selected to be in the sample, but doesn't respond. So again, this would be, you get a survey in the mail, you toss it aside. Actually, that's part of the reason why a lot of times they'll put like money in with the surveys. I've gotten the surveys in the past where there's like these nice crisp dollar bill in it. And that, I actually worked for a company one summer and the data research people, I saw them doing that. I'm like, so what's the deal with that? It's like they get better response rates if they do that because if people are taking the dollars, they feel guilty unless they respond. Don't know if that changes the data at all, but you know, it's one way to get a response. So, so it doesn't respond or, oops, I forgot, or isn't reached. And this is different than voluntary response. Voluntary response, remember, is that that person is going to the website or writing a letter to somebody and starting to go through and okay, then the last one here is response bias, and that's where you start getting a pattern of inaccurate responses for some reason. It could be because the interviewer was saying something, it could be the wording of the question, it could also be you know, people are lying because of who's asking the question, things like that. So pause this for a second, answer the questions down here and check for your understanding, and we'll come back and check on them. All right, so the first situation, you're going down here and you're saying, okay, we want to see what's the source of bias. Okay, so for example here, a sample is chosen at random from a telephone directory. That's going to be undercoverage unless you only want to talk to people who have landlines or, you know, who are in that cell phone directory, because you're going to only have the people in the directory. That's your population. That's all that you're picking from. And that might actually be a good way to kind of determine what you're having is the population of what I'm asking equal to the population that I'm trying to survey? Because then if it's not, you're missing something. Likewise, you can go down through here. Some people cannot be contacted in 5 calls. That's certainly me because when I see National Committee calling, I'm like, nope, not calling them, not answering them. So it's non-response. People are not, I've been chosen, you've been chosen, those people have been chosen for the survey, but they're not responding. And again, remember, that's different than, like we talked about, voluntary response up here, where people are voluntarily telling the company, hey, this is good, this is bad. Or they're going to a website to fill things out. They're going to Twitter to vote in a poll. That's all voluntary response. Convenient sample, interviewer chooses people walking by a sidewalk to interview. It's convenient. And we kind of talked about that before. You're not going anywhere. all those people could have some sort of commonality. It could be due to the time of day, things going on. If it's around a shopping, if it's a sidewalk in front of a Home Depot, I'm going to guess they're probably going to all be people who like to work on their house or something like that. Or at least majority of them will be. So it's going to be that type of thing. And then, last one. So down here, you've got the survey paid for by makers of disposable diapers. I found that 84% of the sample opposed banning diapers in, well, general because of landfills. Now, this double negative here can also be problematic. Okay, so again, you're saying that you don't want to keep diapers. You want to keep diapers around, basically. Just like in math. If you have two negatives in a row, they become a positive. So it's like the sample, if you're opposed banning of disposable diapers, that means that you want disposable diapers. Anyway, here's the actual question. It's estimated disposable diapers account for less than 2% of the trash in today's landfills. In contrast, beverage containers, third-class mail, etc., account for 21%. So knowing that, in your opinion, would it be fair to ban disposable diapers? So notice what happens here. It's just like in those court shows. It's a leading question, and that's what we see down here. Technically, it's response bias because it's a wording thing. Actually, I should probably comment on that. But leading question is part of the reason for the response bias. Okay? So, make sure this is seen. So just like in those court movies or TVs where you scenes where you saw like leading the witness, what are you doing? You're basically saying, hey, isn't this all true? If this is all true, then isn't this what's going to happen? Okay, and that's not what we're going for here. Because here the fact that you're saying, oh, well, we should probably ban all this other stuff first. Okay, that's what the things we're going through. So hope that helps. That wraps up section 4.1. You should probably be having some sort of end of chapter or end of section thing, quiz, homework assignment or something. So after we're done with this, we're going to move into section 4.2 and talk a little bit more about how we should, we've already talked about what shouldn't happen. Now we're going to talk about how we make things the way that we want them to. All right, look forward to seeing you then. Catch you later.